Hey guys, here's my Weeden #1. Weeden's first engine that they released was first introduced in 1884 in Youth Companions magazine, and then it was produced into 1905, I believe. In the background, you'll see the number 2, that's all brass, and then we have the number 3, which was produced into the 1940s with a sight glass. They're essentially the same setup. The number 3 is a little bit taller, but the number 2 is exactly the same as the number 1, except that it's brass, and this guy is all steel. I believe there were 2 versions of the number 1 that was painted like this guy, with like a orange-red color. This is original paint, as far as I know, on the boiler and the knobs. And this little guy right here is a reproduction ball that I actually painted for my number 2. I borrowed it. So the engine didn't come with the ball. It didn't come with the smokestack. That actually goes to my number 3 over here. It did come with its boiler. That's not a boiler. That is the burner, and it's very different from all the other burners I have that are later models of this shape and style, that it has this little collar up here. That's the wick that came with the burner. Could be original, who knows, but it works well. It's filled with alcohol right now, denatured alcohol, waiting to go. The engine came to me in a bit of disrepair. The top mechanical parts right here was basically loose off the tank, right? So I made new seals with some stock gasket paper and a punch that I have for the mechanical part, and also for the pressure valve. The balance wheel right here, the shaft going into the hub, was extremely rubbed out. It just kind of like flopped all over the place. I got it centered again onto the hub and used some JB weld and let it, cure and dry overnight. The other problem was that when the balance wheel came to its bottom position right here, it would bottom out and would just kind of like, you could feel it, and it would, start moving the piston off its mechanical because it was just jamming to the bottom. I suspect that this little pivot right here, at the end of the rod, came off at some point, and they just didn't get it secured far enough back, which made the rod too long, which then in turn probably caused this shaft to be wobbed out from its hub. So got that all fixed, cleaned up, soapy water. I mean, that's about all I did to it. Seals, fixing the wheel here. And then an interesting thing on this piston, which when I had it apart and just cleaning it, it was amazingly in good shape. It has a cover right here, and neither one of my other engines have that cover, nor do other engines like the boats that have this style of piston, which is very, very small, have a cover. So that's interesting. I don't see how they could actually be lost or pulled off. So it makes me wonder if they only offered to cover on earlier models. And speaking of earlier models, I'm going to slide this over. Here we have the original box, right? So the original box with its label here, I suspect at the top it probably said Weeden, but it's gone. But really the cool bit is that right here it talks about banks, right? And all these banks were made by Weeden, and they stopped making the banks and offering them in 1890 for my research. So that kind of tells me, or helps me age the manufacturing date of my engine to probably no later than 1890. Now, it's very hard to see, but right here it talks about the patent 1885 because that's when they put a patent and got a patent on the number one. These guys back here have a stamping on the top of the boiler. They're all the same. They say engine number one and patent it, right? If I slide this guy back over, if we notice here at the top, there is no stamping whatsoever at the top, right? The box says patent 1885. The engine does not say 1885 on the top, nor does it say it's engine number one. So I suspect that this engine is very early run, very close to 1885. And if that's correct, that makes this engine 135, 140 years old. I don't know, I'm doing math in my head. That's not very, I can't do that very well. Probably should have done it on a calculator. There's also remnants right here to where I think this was painted gold at the top. On the label, if you notice when I was showing it up close, it does say that it's red and gold, right? So, yeah. Let's light this little burner here. All right, a little fire. We're back here in the center. All right. Just set that on the side there. All right. Let's see how well we can get this guy to run. All right. I wonder if there's, close it off. There we go. So this forward knob right here, this is for the throttle, controlling the steam to the piston. This knob right here controls the built-in whistle right here. Okay. And then when the steam comes up through the mechanical part, up through the center to the piston, it also expels the steam from the piston up through the top. And it looks quite nice, right? Across the back, we have our pressure valve with simply just a weighted ball to keep the lever down. And we'll see if we can get this guy running. Probably should have warmed it up a little bit. I guess while we're doing that, I can bring the number 2. All right, so we have a sight glass. Again, it's all brass. It looks very sad without its little topper there. And then we have the number 2, which just looks just like this guy right here, but it's just nice shiny brass. I can hear the water starting boiling and steaming inside. And we can see some water bubbling out right here. I do get some, it leaks here. These little throttles aren't the best sealers in the world. I do have some minor leakage around the seal on the pressure valve, but the seal that I did for the mech seems to be pretty in good shape. Let's see. Almost. go. Take it down a little bit. Very good throttle control. Let's try the whistle again. Awesome whistle. And you can see that she runs quite fast. Love that whistle. So of the 3 engines that I have that are this style, this by far is the one that runs the best. Their pistons back here are a little bit more tired and worn than this guy, which is kind of funny because I am sure that this engine is, you know, at least 10 years older than this guy. And this one I aged probably around the 1930s. All right, I think that's going to be it for today. Have a little whistle. All right, thank you. See you next time.